I'll hit record. Hi, I'm Julie Seedorf, author of the Fuchsia Minnesota Mysteries, the Brilliant Minnesota Mysteries, and the Whistle Stop Mysteries. Welcome to the Pink Percolator. The Pink Percolator is a coffee house, a den of a lot of fun in my Fuchsia Mysteries. So I decided that the nice thing when I interview people, we're having coffee at the Pink Percolator. And today I am very lucky to have Lisa Kelley from Lisa K Book Reviews on. Now, Lisa is the reviewer extraordinaire, and I've known her for years, and she is a favorite person of mine. So I wanted to introduce you to her because a lot of the times our reviewers are the people behind the scenes that actually sell our books for us. So I would like to welcome you, Lisa. And Lisa is wearing a mask because she's trying to protect her sister, who she lives with, because they have a little COVID incident going on in their family. So welcome, Lisa. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why you're wearing a mask and the reason behind it, because of safety?
Sure. Hi, Julie. Thank you for having me. You're one of my favorite people, too. Thank you for speaking up for the reviewers. But remember, if you didn't write a good book for us to give a good review to, there'd be no book selling. So don't give us all the credit. You had to write it. Let me ask, my brother was diagnosed with COVID just a couple days ago, and I had been in contact with him. And so until we all start getting those negative tests going and we know everything's okay, I share a house with my little sister, and I'm just trying to make sure that she's safe. So even in the house, I'm wearing the mask, and my bedroom's the only place that's mask free. So I probably should have set up in there, but I didn't think about it.
No, that's fine, because I think we all need to be aware, and though things are getting better with shots and we've had our first one, it's still important to be safe. And I want to see my grandkids again soon. And my family stays away because they don't want to give us COVID, and they're in places where they have been exposed and things like that. So let's go on to more fun things. First of all, I have my coffee cup here, and it says my favorite coffee, one of my favorite coffee cups. Now, every day I choose one depending on how I feel. And I have the Get Well Soon one today because of your brother. I want him to get well soon. So do you have a drink with you today? Do you have a favorite drink, a favorite can, a favorite something?
Not as fancy, but I have my Mountain Dew with me today because I needed the caffeine. I don't drink coffee. If I drink coffee, I'm bouncing off the walls. So I don't need quite that much caffeine.
So what does bouncing off the walls look like, Lisa?
I'm sorry, my screen is frozen.
Oh, am I on frozen now?
And it froze on a good picture because you're just smiling.
Okay, why don't you sign out and sign back in? Am I here? Can you hear me?
In and out. Yeah, our internet has been a red hot mess here lately. So
we'll just go with it. I asked what bouncing off the walls looked like to you.
Oh, I don't shut up. I just ramble. I'm bipolar, so if I'm already having what I call a happy episode with the bipolar, one of those ones where everything is funny, and I have too much caffeine with it, it's like I'm like the Flash with my mouth. It just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. And so usually it's about when my family wants to lock me into a room for about an hour.
Okay. Now I want you to know Lisa loves snow. And so every time we get snow in Minnesota, I'm in Minnesota and you're in Delaware, right?
Yes.
Dover,
yeah. Right? Dover,
Yeah, you live not too far from some relatives of mine, actually. But anyway, so when we get snow, I always tease Lisa and go, Lisa, look at our snow. But this year you got a lot of snow, didn't you?
We did, and it was wonderful. As is typical in Delaware, it didn't stay long once it was on the ground, but I got to see it, I got to walk in it, I got to touch it, so I was in my happy place. Um, but yeah, it's the past few years. We're lucky if we see a flurry or two. But back in my first year of life on Easter Sunday, we had snow up past the windows so high that my dad had to go out the second story window and drop down into the snow to dig our front door out.
Oh my
And
goodness. And that's the day you were born?
that was the Easter right after I was born. I was born in October, and it was my first Easter. And there's a picture of me laying on the couch, and the window is behind me, and you can see about this much snow going across the window.
So Lisa, let's talk about Lisa Cave's books reviews. You know, I've known you all these years, but I don't know how you got started reviewing books and becoming, I believe you just won an award or you were named in one of the top best cozy review sites in the last couple of years. So tell us how this all came about. And since we're not live, we're not taking questions, but I want to tell all of you that on YouTube and on the pinkpercolator.com, where this will also be posted, please leave questions, and Lisa and I will both come on and answer them if we see questions. So Lisa, tell us about your life.
I have my two sisters to thank for even for being here with you and talking to you today. Through my life, I've always read, but through my life, I've always kind of changed genre. And when my mom was still with us, we read Christian romances. And before that, we read the Regency romances. So it's always been the kind of mild type of reading. And one day I read a thriller by Tess Gerritsen, and I was like, I just absolutely loved it. So I started reading thrillers and suspense novels. And one day my sister Darlene, my older sister, says, "Why aren't you reading anymore?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "It's just been a few months." I said, "Sometimes you break away." She goes, "No, you haven't read anything in over a year." And she goes, "Here, read this." And she gave me the second book in a cozy mystery series about a cupcake bakery. And she couldn't find the first, and she says, "Read this." And I read it like I was starving for words. And what we found out was those suspense thrillers had kind of gotten dark. And I didn't want to read anymore because I didn't want to read that dark stuff. So after I read that one, I ordered the first in the series. Then I ordered every single cozy by that author, and then just started going and going and going. So I said, I was putting some reviews up, and my little sister looks at me and she goes, "You should start a blog." That's the little sister I live with, Tammy. And I'm like, "Why?" I said, "Who wants to read anything that I have to say?" And she goes, "Well, even if you just do it for yourself, think of it as kind of like a diary." And I said, "Well, I'll give it a try." And I tried a couple different names, which is why my web address for my blog is completely different than what my name is, because that was my first go at naming my blog. But I just started putting my book reviews up there, and then I started just kind of contacting some authors and seeing if they'd be interested in maybe doing an interview or something with me. And it just kind of snowballed from there. I did my first giveaway, and I had over 100 authors, each giving a prize. And I spent an entire week going nuts and loving it, trying to keep this giveaway going, because once this author spoke to that one, they were like, "Is it too late to be part of your giveaway?" And I'm like, "No, not at all. That's fine." And this was probably within my first 6 months of doing this. So I kind of jumped into the deep end, and I love it. Nicest people you ever want to meet. The authors, the readers, everybody, just the nicest people.
Aren't they though? I have found when I got into this too, that the authors, and it doesn't matter if it's a thriller or a cozy or whatever, authors are just the nicest people, and they are so giving, meaning not giving as far as monetary and all that, but giving as far as sharing and helping new people come along. How much time do you spend on your blog each week, Lisa? Because you always have something new on there. And
Well,
do you do all the work for your blog on your own?
yes,
Or-
I do. I've been slacking a little bit, starting probably around Christmas till now. I've been missing a couple of days on the blog because I think, like everybody else, sometimes my mind just can't get focused onto, what I need to do. And sometimes I just stare at the keyboard and I have absolutely no idea what to type. I read a book and can't remember what I read, so I couldn't write a review right away. But I used to spend probably, and people kind of doubted me on this, sometimes I would spend up to 18 hours a day working on my blog. I don't work, I'm disabled, so I had the time to work on it, and that's what I liked doing. So that was between working on the blog itself, interacting with authors. At one point, the publishers actually started contacting me to do reviews. I don't know who got that to happen and how it happened, but I'm grateful that it did. But yeah, it was just, it's been my love since I started it. And you were talking about how authors are so giving. And I noticed that, and I noticed them giving me a chance and not even knowing who I was. So in that same respect, I would have an author who was independently publishing a book, and nobody would give them the time of day. And they would see my name and they'd say, well, do you think you'd read my book? And I said yes, because I wasn't one of those people like, oh, well, I'm sorry, you're too small for me to read your book. No, nobody's too small, nobody's too big. If I have the time and I can help you, I'd love to. So I like being able to give back that way. And not because of me, but some of these authors who are independent authors and who couldn't get a start, some of them are writing some fantastic series now, and people know about them when they hear about them. So that's pretty exciting.
Yes, yes. So my question to you is also, do you do your own website? Were you familiar with all these computer things and fun things like that before? What's your learning curve? Because I hear all the time from people that say, well, I can't do that. But yet here you are running this wonderful site, and I'm thinking you learned it all on your own. Was it quite the learning curve? And do you have to learn new things all the time because things are always changing? How does that work with you?
You're correct. There are so many people who say, I can't do this, and they would be surprised if they just gave it a shot. I did learn most of it on my own. As into the world of the computer itself, I had some help, and I had somebody give me good advice. They said, don't be afraid to push a button. You may clear your whole computer off, but there's always going to be, somebody on the other end of the phone who can help you get back to where you're going. So I stopped being afraid to push buttons on the computer. And then as far as the blog was concerned, I just, I looked up on Google, found the one called Blogspot, which is the one that I'm on, and it really did walk me through how to set the blog up quite easily. And then one of our other reviewers, Karen from A Cup of Tea and a Cozy Mystery, she showed me how to highlight the links, because I would go to her blog and it would have a link and it would be that beautiful startling blue color. And I'm like, how do you get it to do that? Mine keeps coming up black. And so she told me how to do that. So she helped me with certain things along the way. As a matter of fact, I even made her an administrator to the blog, so she could go in and change something for me if it needed to be done. And every once in a while, she'll even take over my blog. I'll be like, I have nothing for the blog tomorrow. She'll say, I've got it covered. And she'll go in, and next thing I know, there's a blog post up. And that's been a lot of fun. And that gave me the idea to have some authors do a takeover. It's like, you just do whatever you want. It's your own blog. You
Just
send me,
do it.
exactly. You tell me what you want to say, send me the pictures and all. I'll put it up, and it's your day. So that's been fun. But I have the people that I talk to, there's one lady, a sweet lady. She's in her 90s. She whizzes through Facebook and things on the computer like people in their 20s haven't figured out yet. So anybody can do it. You've just gotta want to, and you gotta have fun with it, and don't be afraid to put.
And Google, you can almost learn how to fix anything on Google and YouTube. There's videos for absolutely everything now. And I used to, when I had my computer business and I was fixing computers, I tell people, don't be afraid of your computer. I mean, that's the way I have learned to do most of the things.
Absolutely.
On the computer. Yesterday, I redid my the Pink Percolator blog that this is going to go on, and totally screwed it up. So then I had to go back and fix it. I was looking for a new template, and the one I had wasn't working, and it was crazy. But if you'll learn through your mistakes, and there's always somebody out there to help you. So I have a question for you. What happens when, because I'm doing some book reviews now too, what happens when you read a book and you have a hard time getting through the first few chapters? What do you do about that? Do you talk to the author? Do you give them a review?
Absolutely. If it's a book that I picked for myself just to read and I can't get through the first few chapters, I just put it down, get another book, because life is too short to try to read a book that you're not enjoying.
Yeah.
If it's something that I'm reading specifically to do a review for an author, I'll keep pushing through it, but I will contact them and say, for whatever reason, I'm not clicking with this, or for whatever reason, this just isn't working here. My review is probably not going to be a 5 or even a 4-star review. We're probably looking at a 3-star review. And I won't lie to you. I will tell the author, if you don't want that 3-star review up there, tell me, and I just won't post it. Yeah. So, I want to be honest with the people who read the books, but I don't want to ruin an author's chance of selling a book either.
Right. But I think as an author, it would be very unrealistic of us to think that we're all going to get 4 and 5-star reviews. And I've gotten 3 stars and 2 stars and 1 star. And, it could be some of them I've looked back and, well, it's like, why did they read my book? Because this isn't at all the genre that they like. And right now I'm laughing because I had a 1-star review that was meant to not be good, but I loved it. And it was, this woman shouldn't have quit her day job. She's got scrambled eggs for brains. She writes like Dr. Seuss. And of course, I love Dr. Seuss. So it's like, yes, I don't care if that's a 1-star review, except today with all the controversy about Dr. Seuss, I'm thinking, whoa, maybe I don't want that, but I still love Dr. Seuss. But, I think we appreciate the honesty. I guess that's what I'm saying to you. Do you have a favorite author?
I do. If I could answer that last one real quick, the only time I will stop reading a review that I have offered to review a book, the only time I'll stop reading that book is if there's something in that book that I specifically said I won't read about. Because some of the authors are trying to get a little bit edgier. So there are scenes that to me aren't quite appropriate for a cozy. There are words and stuff that are mentioned, or backstories that are mentioned, that don't belong in a cozy. So I have contacted a few authors and said, I can't finish this book. This isn't what you promised would be in here. This isn't, I tell you specifically what I won't read, and it's up on my Facebook page, what I won't read. Profanity, just, I'm just not into it. So I will be honest about that. So,
have you seen what I've seen recently? I have seen where some cozy authors are really pushing the boundaries of what a cozy mystery Is that just me seeing that, or have you seen that in some of the ones that you've read too?
I've been seeing that in some, and as a matter of fact, I will put in my reviews sometimes a profanity warning. If I enjoyed everything else about the book, but the profanity was a little over the top, I will put that in my review. And I actually had somebody tell me once, well, you need to stop reading cozies then, and you just need to start reading Christian books because blah, blah, I'm just like, I went back and I said, I can handle the occasional HELL or VAMN. I can handle those once in a while in a book, but what's showing up is far beyond, I think, what should be in a cozy mystery. And
Oh,
I have problems with that, and I have noticed that it is starting to trend that it's just getting edgier and edgier.
well, I think some authors, like I wrote a cozy and I didn't even know I wrote a cozy. I had no idea what it was when I was offered a contract by Cozy Cat Press that I had written a cozy. And I had to look up what a cozy was, which is no graphic sex, no graphic violence, no profanity. And usually it has an amateur sleuth. And so I was at a conference or at a panel one night. I was on a panel and it was interesting because someone with a different publisher had even stricter rules than what I have with the cozy, like absolutely no guns in the book. And, there are no shootouts in cozies. And I actually in a group mystery I was writing, the person ahead of me that wrote the chapter ahead of me had a shootout. And I'm like, oh no, this is not in a cozy. And so I kind of, in my chapter, changed it so something else happened and it only sounded like it was a shootout. And then I thought, well, I wonder what our publisher is going to think about that, because they apparently allowed the shootout. So I think it just depends. The other thing I wanted to have you ever had it happen, and I've had this happen too, and we're talking about books that we can't get through. I've started a book and I've got through the first couple chapters and it's like, oh, I just am not into this, and I put it away, and 2 weeks later I go back and I start reading it again and I'm into it. So it could be my mood. Has that ever happened to you?
Absolutely. I've Especially if it's one like maybe my sister recommended to me and she goes, but you're going to love it. And there's one series that she adores, and it's not my favorite series, but because she likes it so much, when I'm not reading one of my books I'm absolutely enjoying or a book review, I will go back and grab another one in that series. And I have to admit that it did start growing on me. But yeah, I've read about 2 chapters in a book, put it down, or it was in my purse because I was reading it while I was waiting for somebody in the store. So I'm out in the car reading it, and I end up in the car again, forget to bring my new book, pulled that one out, started over, and I'm like, what was I thinking when I was reading this before? Because I'm really enjoying it now. So just like you go through moods with music, you go through moods with what you want to watch on TV. There's been many movies that I've started and couldn't stand them. And, like a year later, I'm watching the movie and like, I love this. Why, what kind of a mood was I in? What was my headspace at that time? So yeah, I will go back and give them a chance. But if I can't enjoy them right then and there, you have to step away. I think you just have to step away because you want to go on and read something that you're enjoying and really getting into.
Yeah. So you have Emmy. You love animals, and you have a dachshund by the name of Emmy.
Yeah.
Emmy is the cutest dachshund ever, and very spoiled. Very spoiled.
She's extremely spoiled. She's spoiled to the point of every night she's up in the chair with Tammy and I'm in my chair. And she decides when she thinks I'm supposed to go to bed, because she'll hop out of Tammy's lap and come and sit in front of my chair. She doesn't want to get in my lap. She wants me to get out of the chair and go to bed so she can have my chair.
I get that. I have Natasha that tells me what time to go to bed, but she's ready to go to bed at the same time as I am. So we're almost at the end of this. So I want to ask you a couple of quick questions. I am so happy to have you here. So what's your favorite color?
I never really had one, but if I had to be forced into it, I'd say like pinks and corals and just yeah.
Now, Lisa, do you have any advice for readers and writers, authors?
I think that authors who do, I could never do what they do. My joke is I can't write, so I review. I think if they're going to be doing a lot of social media and all, I think they should listen a little bit more to what their readers are saying, not just the reviews, but if they're talking on social media, because that's who's reading your books. I mean, you don't want them pushing you around or anything, but just just give them a listen. And to the readers, show respect. The authors are taking their time on social media to interact with you. When you write a review, if you absolutely hated the book, there are nice ways to say I hated the book without, like the one person saying you shouldn't have quit your day job. I mean, some of the reviews, oh my, they're brutal. So I would just suggest if you really didn't like a book, give it a 1 star and say, this just wasn't my cup of tea. Not what I wanted to read or not what I cared for. There's nicer ways to do that. And just to the readers, just keep supporting your authors, though. They keep writing wonderful books for us to read.
Yes, and there's a misconception that authors make a lot of money, and we don't. We make very little on our books unless you're somebody that, is Alan Eskins or William Kent Kruger, and I don't even know if they make a lot of money. But the fact is, writers write not for the money, mostly, especially cozy authors. I think they write because they love to write. They love to connect with their readers. But again, social media has been a gift to us because of it gets the word out. People like you, Drew Ann, and all the blogs. You're part of Lori Caswell's Dollycast blog tours too. Mm-hmm. Those people help us out. They support us, and we could not write and sell books without bookstores and without people like Lisa. Now, I have one more question for you. Do you prefer paperback or electronic books?
I prefer paperback, and a lot of people think that's because, you just want to have it, a free book, or you want to like buy a book and blah, blah. Yeah, I just prefer real books because they fit in my hand better. They make more sense to me in my hand. But I never turn down reviewing something that I have to read on an e-reader, because that has also brought so many authors into my life and so many wonderful stories into my life, because some of those stories have never been published in paper. So I would have messed up on some wonderful things. But my favorite is most definitely, I still love to have that book in my hand. I still love the smell of the book.
Oh, I was just thinking that. That's really funny. You're in my head, because I was thinking there's the smell of a book. And when I go into a bookstore, it's like I am overwhelmed with feelings in my hands. I just tingle and I want to start picking things up and reading them. And I want to buy every book in Absolutely. The store. So I was going to ask you if you got excited about the smell of books.
I do. My little sister's funny. She gets excited over the smell of electronics. When she buys a little electronic and she opens the box, she sniffs it and she's just like, oh, this just smells so good. And I always kind of look at her like, all right, sweetie, I love you, but you're a little strange. And then I get a new book and I'm sitting there smelling it, and she just looks at me like, I'm not saying anything. So yeah, walking into a bookstore that smells better than walking into a candy shop or walking into a coffee shop.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Coffee for me, holds the same thing. Do you have any final words for us, Lisa?
You asked me earlier if I had a favorite author, and I didn't mean to dodge it. But I'm not going to say because I love too many authors to actually put a name out there. Um, but I just I love what I do. There is one thing you were talking about how authors don't get, as much money as people think. I can't speak for all bloggers, but not all bloggers get paid either.
That is true. You do not get paid.
Exactly. I don't take any money. I don't make any money for doing this. I have had authors, if I've helped them do a party, who will like send me maybe an Amazon gift card to thank me, but I never charge for anything to do because I do it because I love it, and you and the other authors have given to me so many different worlds and families and people to visit that the least I can do is have a spot for you guys to talk and not charge for you. But if I had any last words, I would have to say the cozy community is the greatest community I could be a part of. I just love everybody involved in it, and I thank them for accepting me so readily. And I just adore everybody, especially you.
So can you tell them where we can find you, your address, and I will put it in the comments when I post this too. What's your website?
If I had the brains today to write it down with me, because I don't have it next to me. But I do believe, because it is, again, it's a different name than what my blog is actually titled. The best way right now is to just go to Google and type in Lisa Kay's book reviews. You'll find my blog there, and you'll also find my Facebook page there because they're both the same name. And if I can get to you before you edit and get this up, I will tell you what my direct link to my blog is.
And I think I have it too. So thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Lisa. Follow Lisa and you will find so many good books. Follow me and you'll find some authors, and we're going to have some regular people on here too. If you're interested in my books, julieseedorf.com, and come along again and meet some very nice people. Have a beautiful day. Lisa and I say goodbye.
Thank you, Julie. Bye, everybody.
Bye.